Um, I also think it's important, just again from a UDL perspective, that creating alternative formats of content, right, that's just part of the pathway, I think, to a more inclusive learning experience. You can also think about, alternate content. In some cases, you may have something that's very visual in nature. You have a great graphic or something, and it's never going to be intended for your non-visual user, right? You're a blind student. It's just not going to benefit much, even trying to add alt text to something really complex graphically. So thinking about, when do you maybe create a different piece of content to represent it in a different way? Maybe like in that case, something more narrative. I even think about, when I read the New York Times, right, they have all these crazy data visualizations, these complex graphs. If they just did an alt text, I still wouldn't be able to read that graph and understand it very well. The long description that they provide helps me to understand that complex graphic. So thinking about alternate content, creating different ways to engage the content, especially if you can't make the original one accessible for some people. Even thinking about it from a diversity perspective, is our syllabus a bunch of dead white guys, or do we have multiple perspective, global perspectives being represented in the types of people that the students are going to read? Going back to the options for assignments and assessments, this was one that I experimented with in my online course. So we would do a literacy autobiography assignment where we would have the students write a personal narrative that connected their experiences of becoming literate with some of the key literacy and learning theories that they were reading. So it was cool, kind of, first, this idea of engaging students' personal story and having them connect it with the learning content as a way for us to learn about them, for them to reflect on themselves. And then we gave them options to do it as a standard paper or in some multimedia format like a video. And at first, most of the students chose the paper because they're familiar with it, they can do it last minute. But as we started to kind of build out a rubric a little bit, and as we started to get more examples of multimedia stuff, we saw more and more students going the multimedia route, actually. And I thought it was interesting, like they seemed to have a bit more kind of pride in this thing that they made. They had some choice in it. It's not just a paper that ended up on the stack at the end of the term. So it was interesting to see them kind of have some ownership, have a bit of sense of pride about the activity. And then inclusive, I think, course design. Thinking about designing course experiences that, again, I think engage students' cultural funds of knowledge, that, help kind of scaffold. So this was the model that I used at Berkeley for an online hybrid course that we offered. So every weekly module started with this Inspire activity, and that was really like a little micro warm-up type of activity designed to kind of gauge their interest, their background knowledge about the topic, what connected with them, what kind of, would be interesting to them. It gave us as instructors some idea about what motivated them, what was relevant to them. Then it went to the Explore activity where, trying to diversify the different types of content that they were going to engage with. So having like blogs as well as academic articles, chunking out the videos, right? Having lots of different kind of video snippets, having them engage with their peer artifacts. I thought that was important. Having them kind of do discussions, threads, so that then when they got to our discussion section, so we had a synchronous weekly meeting that was either on video or in person. So we actually gave them the option to do video or in person. And we could use those two activities as instructors as really the formative assessment, right? It gave us an idea of what they were struggling with, what they were interested in, so that then we could really shape that discussion section. And it made a big difference when this course was just lecture-based. They would come to the discussion section and everything was in their notebooks, and we had no idea what they had gotten out of it, what they were confused about. So having that formative assessment really helped it with the discussion section. And then every week, we wrapped it up with a reflection activity, synthesizing across different modules, different ideas, applying it in research context. So really the higher order thinking skills being applied. So every week they got accustomed to this kind of delivery format, understanding why and how each of the pieces work together to kind of scaffold their understanding.